we stand for prayer? Thank you. Oh, surely I have turned myself to thee, trying to be upright, to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, my death is all for Allah. No associate has he, this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee, thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself and confess my fault, so grant me protection against my fault, for none grants protection against fault but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn from me the evil and the indecent morals but thee. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make the true followers of Muhammad successful as thou didst make Abraham, and the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praised and magnified, and O Allah, bless Muhammad and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as thou didst bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham, for surely thou art praised and magnified in our midst. Ameen. You may be seated. In the name of Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, we certainly forever thank Almighty God, who is the revealer of all truth and the sender of all prophets, and we have made no distinction between them. We thank Allah for Moses and the Torah, for Jesus and the gospel, and we thank him for Muhammad and the revelation of the Holy Quran. Peace be upon all the worthy servants of Allah, and certainly as students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's life-giving message, as we said and stated in our paper, we thank Allah for intervening in our affairs in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. And this intervention resulted in him finding one worthy among us that he could use and pour himself into and make his sole instrument for the rise of a people who the scriptures say were dead. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad, his exalted servant, now the exalted Christ. We thank Allah for him, and to the two of them I'm eternally indebted for their student, servant, and apostle. He is our leader, teacher, and guide today, the preacher of freedom, justice, and equality, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So in their names, we greet you with the greeting words of peace. Salam alaikum. We want to welcome all of you to Muhammad Mosque number 12, and letting you know that every Sunday at 11 a.m. we hold our meetings here. All are always welcome to come to our meetings on Sundays here, just as the 11 o'clock hour, I believe, is the hour of worship in the United States of America. It's called the most segregated hour in America, because when people want to get close to God, they don't want to be close to certain other people. So we have a big separation problem when it comes to the talk about unity and interracial cooperation. But nevertheless, if you're black and ready, this is the place you should be. And if you're black and not ready, you can get ready when you come to Mosque number 12 under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We want to thank everyone for going through the check procedure. Of course, you should know the world is growing more dangerous. You can hardly turn the news on today without hearing about killings and that, calling schools soft targets. So now you go in a school, it's almost like going in a prison. You have to go through metal detectors and different things, and armed guards are walking around, police are on alert. Right here in the Philadelphia area, they found a bullet, and by finding the bullet, they closed the whole school down, because the bullet could eventually enter a firearm, and then it could be used to kill someone at the school. They're just not taking any chances. So it may sound like they over and exaggerated, but that's the level, that's the danger level now that's in the country. And so before anyone was doing that, we were doing the check procedure. And the check procedure was not only to make sure that people didn't come in with weaponry, but we didn't come in with it either. We want to feel safe, but more important, we want you to feel safe. So we thank you for that cooperation. We also want to let you know, you can let your family and friends know all the time. If you don't come to Mosque number 12, you can also tune in to NOI.org. That's NOI.org, and you'll be transmitting right into our headquarter flagship mosque, Mosque Mariam, which is also the National Center for the Re-Education and the Retraining of our people. So right there in Chicago, where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is, you can hear from members of the Executive Council. You can also hear from many of the guests that they bring into Mosque Mariam to address sometime. And that's an address that goes worldwide right there from Mosque Mariam. And so if you're at home or your family's at home and maybe they don't care to come out to a meeting, they can always tune in to NOI.org. We want to welcome you to come out on Wednesday, September the 25th. Wednesday, September the 25th, we're going to have a citywide call meeting dealing with the democracy meltdown, the survival of the black nation. A democracy meltdown. That's the survival of the black nation. It's part of our National Agenda series that'll be going all over our region, the Delaware Valley region. And so we have a citywide call for that meeting on Wednesday night. You come right here to Mosque number 12. We are bringing our community partners and others all in to be with us to discuss this. This is an election year, and it's clear that they need the black vote. It's really clear. And they're talking about the people in the middle that they're trying to reach to get the few people over, because they're assuming that black folks are going to come in great numbers. But now there's some troubling statistics that show that black men who are under 35 are more likely to vote for Donald Trump than they are for Kamala Harris. So they first said this was a misinformation campaign, but the numbers have borne out from the surveys. And for whatever reason, some young black men feel they're better off with Donald Trump. They're probably really disconnected from the evils in this land. But, you know, we still can't get past that the poorest cities in America, the poorest cities, are run by Democrats. And they haven't been run by Republicans for the last 50 years. So why, under Democratic rule for half a century, are the citizens poor? Is it because the citizens happen to be large populations of black people who migrated from the South over the years between the 50s and 60s, and now we're populating many of these northern cities, and so because it's black people, they don't have the will to set up the kind of program and agenda to take us out of poverty. And so we have to discuss those kind of things because that's part of the meltdown. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us that there has been a steady erosion of democratic principles. And while there's an erosion of democratic principles, the population profile in this country has changed drastically. And because of that, there's a fear at the top of who will be populating here, and more important, who will be ruling here. And so now you see the great excitement in the land, and it's bearing out in the politics of this country. And I hope that you come out and be a part of the discussion, because the most troubling thing about a democracy is that if you have to have an enlightened mind to have a practice in democracy. And if the people have been successfully dumbed down, that's no light in the mind. Who are you voting for? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says your vote has lost its meaning when you are not properly educated about this land. A self-determined people. As Mr. Muhammad was asked by the press, Mr. Muhammad, who do you support in this election. And Mr. Muhammad looked at the press and said, we support who supports us. We support, he didn't say we're not going to give anybody support, but we support who supports us. The problem with us is sometimes we don't know what we need. But when you have a self-determined mind, you know how to direct government so that it can address your enlightened interests. So we have to talk about that, and that'll be Wednesday night here at Mosque number 12, September the 25th. All right, and then Sunday, October the 6th, we're approaching a busy month in October. Sunday the 6th is a day before the birthday, the accepted birth date of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so we're going to be dealing with the entire history of the Nation of Islam on that Sunday. That's a Unity Sunday, and so we're calling on everyone to be out for that. And so today, you normally see Brother Joseph up here. Brother Joseph's been invited to be the speaker there in Chester, Pennsylvania, so he's there with them this Sunday. We're always working this Sunday on Sundays, so we thank our brother for the uninterrupted service that he provides us with. And so I'm standing in his place, but we do have a treat today, and so we want to get ready to hear from some of the bright students that are coming up in the class to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And you've heard our sister before, but we're blessed to hear from her again today. You know, they run this, what do they call it? It's not a prayer line. It's a Quranic reading line, and it's daily. But, you know, can you imagine every single day you're pouring the words of God into your mind, getting it down into your spirit? It's hard to travel in a faulty atmosphere, you know, when you're constantly feeding on the word of God. And the minister reminded us, as Paul said, let this mind be in you, the one that was in Christ Jesus. He said that mind starts out like a little seed, and then you have to keep feeding on truth and feeding on right guidance, and that seed grows in your mind. And guess what? The old mind dies, and it actually becomes the mind of God in us. But we must feed. And so I hope you will enjoy our sister. She has always blessed us here with words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, from the Quran, the Bible. Wherever truth is found, you find this sister giving it to us. I want you to put your hands together for our own sister, Sister Linda Muhammad.
All praise is due to Allah. All praise is always due to Almighty God Allah. We don't take the praise of ourselves because we didn't create ourselves. We didn't teach ourselves. We had a teacher who was sent, so we give all praises due to Allah. Thank you so much, sir. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is but one God who appeared to us in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, to whom all holy praise is forever due. I bear witness the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was taught face to face by Master Farrakhan Muhammad. I bear witness that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the true, the living, the arisen and exalted Christ. I lastly bear witness the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is backed by those two, Master Farrakhan Muhammad and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is Allah's divine reminder, divine warner, Allah's grace, mercy, and a comforter to us and for us. He is the Jesus, now Messiah figure in our midst. I greet the family this morning in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And we know and we're taught that a Savior came for us. So we say Happy Savior's Day. Every day is Savior's Day when a Savior came 9,000 miles, and all praise is due to Allah. A Savior came 9,000 miles to seek and to save you and I, lost here in the hells of North America. I like to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because had he not stood up to rebuild the work of his spiritual father, I would have nothing to share of you. I wouldn't be here before you this morning. So I'm grateful and thankful to Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'd also like to thank, because we are taught and we strive to give flowers while individuals live. They can't hear us once they return to Allah. So I'm grateful and thankful to our student regional minister, Brother Rodney Muhammad. All praise is due to Allah. I thank him for the opportunity to be before you this morning. And then lastly, those of you that know your humble sister know I thank Allah for my husband. I am so grateful and thankful to Allah for my husband's continued love and support and encouragement of your sister. I'm grateful. All right, family, this morning we'd like to share briefly on the subject or the topic, the mission. The mission. Now, we like to clear that word mission. Some definitions for mission: a special assignment given to a person or group, a specific task or duty assigned to a person or group of people, and then lastly, a specific task that a person or group of persons is sent to perform. Are we noticing a theme here? Special assignment, special task, specific duty. Now, the mission is not necessarily the same as a mission. Now, when we say the mission, using the definite article the, that denotes a definitive or a specific mission. Whereas if we say a mission, we could be talking about any one of several missions. So let's keep that in mind, the mission. Now, I hope we don't mind. I'd like to start off by sharing some words from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is that okay? Yes, ma'am. All right. We're going to come from this monumental book titled Message to the Black Man. I hope we have this in our library, family. If we don't, let's hurry and add this powerful monumental book to our library. And not only add it to our library, we have to take it down and read it, reread it, study it, parse the words from in this powerful book, Message to the Black Men in America. We like to, family, go to page 306 in this book. Now, the words that I'll be lifting is taken from an article, or an interview rather, pardon me, done by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. A question was posed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this interview was done in Phoenix, Arizona. The question asked or posed to the Honorable Minister the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. How would you describe your mission? Listen to the response or the answer of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. My mission is to give life to the dead. That's clear. My mission is to give life to the dead. What I teach brings them out of death into life. My mission as the messenger is to bring the truth to the world before the world is destroyed. There will be no other messenger. I am the last, and after me will come God himself. I do not say I will live so long as that, but when God comes, if he pleases, I may be with him. However, if I am not with him, this is the final. This truth I bring will give you the knowledge of yourself and of God. All praise is due to Allah for the life-giving, life-saving, life-teaching, and life-transforming teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his mission to give life to the dead. All praise belongs to Allah. So we heard those words from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now let's get into words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'll be lifting some words, family, from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from an address that he delivered September the 12th, 1990. That address titled, "The Man and the Mission, Raising the Dead to Life." The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, "When one is on a mission, one has been sent to do a specific thing of great importance." Let's think back just a few moments. What did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad say his mission was? To give life to the dead, right? Now, I don't know about you. However, that sounds like a specific thing of great importance to me, giving life to the dead. In the book of John, the 10th chapter, the 10th verse, we read, "I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly." Now, one of the ways, family, that we might have life more abundantly is to follow what we've been given from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in How to Eat to Live, books 1 and 2. That's right? Now, Eating to Live deals with our physical, our mental, and our spiritual sustenance. Those three dynamics are intertwined. Because we can be eating the most wholesome foods, we can be eating the most wholesome foods, the best of foods, the best that money can buy. So that's our physical sustenance. However, if in eating the best, the most righteous foods, we are not taking in mental sustenance, righteous mental sustenance, or spiritual sustenance, we're taking on other people's burdens. The scriptures warn us about taking on other individuals' burdens. So again, it's not only important for us to take in the proper physical food to eat to live, we have to take in the proper spiritual and mental food. Okay? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan goes on in this address to say, whenever a person has a mission, which is a duty or function, the person or persons have to be carefully chosen that they will give themselves totally to the mission. We can't come into this if we're chosen for a mission. We can't go into that mission or come into that mission half-heartedly. So in other words, we can't feel like doing the mission on Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, oh, I'm going to take a break from the mission. And then Thursday, oh, I think I'm going to go back to the mission. And then when Friday comes, what? We want to live for the weekend. I think the OJs had that song, Living for the Weekend, right? That's a whole nother thing for another subject. Suffice it to say, we have to give ourselves totally to the mission. The minister says, once we give ourselves totally to the mission, we will not weaken under the stress and the strain that attends a mission, particularly a mission of great importance. We want to go to the scripture in the Holy Quran. When we talk about not weakening under stress and the strain, which is tied to a mission. Let's go to, in the Holy Quran, Surah or chapter 11. I want to start with verse 36, dealing with Noah. We read, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And it was revealed to Noah, none of thy people will believe except those who have already believed. So grieve not at what they do. And make the ark under our eyes and our revelation, and speak not to me on behalf of those who are unjust. Surely they will be drowned. Now look at what Noah did. And he, Noah, began to make the ark. And whenever the chiefs of his people passed by him, they laughed at him. He said, if you laugh at us, surely we too laugh at you as you laugh at us. Talk about not succumbing to stress and strain when you have a mission placed on you, family. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Amongst the laughing, amongst the ridicule, Noah stayed on his mission and built that ark as he was guided to do, instructed to do. Now, how many of us can think back on a time when we were undertaking something of great importance and someone may have said, oh, you can't do that. Oh, they ridiculed you. They mocked you. They laughed at you. And we threw in the towel. We succumbed to the stress and the strain. Think about that. Think about that. We just heard what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said about not weakening under the stress and the strain. In the scriptures, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan goes on to say in this address, the Bible talks about God searching the hearts of the people and choosing the right person to send on a specific mission of great importance. Sometimes we can think, oh, it's my time to do this, or I should be doing thus and so. If the God didn't choose you, didn't search your heart and choose you for that specific or particular function or duty, then it's not for you. Let's be patient. As the Holy Quran says, let's seek assistance through patience and prayer. The God will guide us. If it's for us, nobody can withhold it. And if it's not for us, there's nobody that can grant it. So we might as well wait on the God, and all praise belongs to Allah. Every prophet is a man raised and a man sent. And when the prophet is sent, he is sent with a mission. And that mission is the sum total reason or purpose of the man's existence in the world. Now we read about Moses being sent with a mission. When we go to the book of Exodus, the 9th chapter, the 1st verse, look what we read about Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say to him. That sounds like a prophet being sent. Go to Pharaoh and say to him, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews says. Let my people go so that they may worship me. All praise is due to Allah for a prophet being raised and sent. The minister continues, in fact, those who are chosen for that kind of mission, they were chosen before they were conscious of such a thing as a mission. The scriptures in the Bible puts it like this: before you were formed in the womb of your mother, I chose you. Think about that. Praise be to Allah. How powerful is that, family? Before you and I were formed in the womb of our mother, what if Allah chose us for a mission of great importance? As the folks say, mind blown. That God chose you and I before we were even thought of in the wombs of our mother. The minister says, this means that those who are truly sent cannot escape what they are born in this world to do. So, Jonah, talking about we cannot escape what we are born in this world to do. In Jonah, chapter 1, verses 11 and 12, we read, then said they unto him, what shall we do unto thee, that the sea may be calm unto us? For the sea wrought and was tempestuous. That word tempestuous, violent, stormy. So the sea was violent and stormy. And the folks are asking Jonah, what can we do to calm the sea, to stop the sea from being violent and stormy? Look what Jonah said. And he said unto them, take me up and cast me forth into the sea. So shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake, this great tempest is upon you. So in other words, this great storm is upon you. I already know why it was happening. It's nothing that you did. I'm running from my mission. Allah's rocking the boat. He has the sea stormy, not being calm. All praises due to Allah. So once they cast Jonah into the sea, the waters were calm. Sometimes we have to say, family, throw up your hands. I surrender, Allah. I can't do it. I'm tired of running. I need to be still and be calm and submit, Allah, to what you would have me to do. And all praise belongs to Allah. Family, we would see how much calmer, how much ease we would have in our life when we submit to the Lord of the worlds and stop running. Stop running. We can run, but we can't hide. We'll wear a hole in the soles of our Jordans, in the soles of our Nikes, in the soles of our Adidas before the God. Before the God, if we have a mission that we were born into this world to do, throw it up, family, and say, Allah, I submit. And all praise belongs to Allah. All praise belongs to Allah. The minister's words, once the man who is born for the mission meets the mission, it is love at first sight. And the marriage takes place. Some of us may have got caught up. We may have saw our future spouse and we saw them, we met them for the first time, and we were all infatuated. Oh my God, it's love at first sight. We're talking about a different kind of love at first sight when the man meets the mission that he was born to do. And the man and the mission become one. So the only reason for the man's existence, the only thing that makes his life meaningful or with purpose is that he at last, thank you, sir, has found what God has desired for him to do. How fulfilling is that, family? Finding our purpose, finding what God desires for you and I to do. We're looking, we're searching, we're running, we're ducking, we're diving. But to find your purpose, what the God created you and I to do, how fulfilling can that be? All praise belongs to Allah. So, beloved family, when you and I are doing what we're born to do, and we love doing it, the minister says that we draw life from doing what we are born to do. Not only do we draw life from it, but we give life when we're doing what we're born to do. And all praise belongs to Allah. That's a reciprocal action. We get life and then we give life when we're doing what we're born to do. The value of a mission and a man in a mission is that we must relate to the mission in order to relate to the man. In other words, we can't relate to the mission and not relate to the man, or vice versa. We maybe can equate that to folks wanting to relate to the brilliance of Malcolm X and not relate to or acknowledge and give credit to Malcolm's teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We have to give credit and relate and recognize the brilliance of Malcolm X from the one who taught him, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and all praise is due to Allah. Another book for us to have in our library, Closing the Gap. Closing the Gap. Our brother, dear brother, Jabril Muhammad. May Allah forever be pleased with brother Jabril Muhammad. In this book, Closing the Gap, on page 16, brother Jabril posed a question to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother Jabril's question: Brother Minister, on the night of June 4th, right after your Phoenix speech in 1995, you spoke to a little over 40 of us at your dinner table about the relationship between the mission of the Honorable the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and your mission, with your mission coming out of his mission. You spoke of your mission and his mission being mutually compatible and complementary. Would you please elaborate? Now, the minister gives us his response is very lengthy, very intense, very in-depth. I'd just like to lift a couple words from the minister's response. And then when you have time, you can certainly, if you have this book, go back and read the minister's response in its entirety. So, when the minister was asked to elaborate, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, like Moses, desired a helper. That desire was in him from the time he started his mission. He knew that he needed a helper, but not for the reason that he thought. It would later come to him as he grew in understanding his assignment, exactly what kind of help he would need. So he scanned the persons that surrounded him. We mentioned earlier about being chosen, right? He scanned the persons that surrounded him, and he measured them based upon his knowledge of the scripture and the help in persons that God gave to former prophets and that shared the assignment of those prophets. In Surah 20, entitled Taha, Moses asked God for a helper. The first thing he says is, expand my breast for me and ease my affair, and loosen the knot in my tongue that they may understand my words, and make him to bear of my burden or an aider to me. In the Holy Quran, we read the question as, who are my helpers? Further down in the minister's response to that question, he says, he then calls his helper and says to his helper, take my place among the people and follow not the way of the mischief maker. So the helper is not to look exactly like the person he is helping. Let's listen good on this, family. So the helper is not to look exactly like the person he is helping, but the helper helps in the expanded version of the mission of the master who preceded him and laid the foundation for him. So when the master leaves with his fully developed understanding of the depth and the breadth of his mission, he can now guide the servant who works in the expanded aspects of the mission to help him in an expanded way. Thus, his work complements the initial work that was done by the master. So the mission of the mission of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it's not a change in the mission. It's not a deviation from the mission of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's an extension of the mission. So when we hear folks talking about, oh, the minister is changing the teachers, no, he's an extension or expansion of the mission of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and all praise belongs to Allah, family. All praise is due to Allah. Let's get to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says is the first work, what the mission is. The minister talks about whatever work we're doing, family, whatever profession that we have, the minister says, all of that is good, but it's secondary. The first work is to raise the dead. We heard that from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying what his mission was. So the minister says whatever work, whatever profession we're in, that's secondary. So we may ask ourselves, well, minister, do I need to give up my work? Do I need to give up my job or my profession? Listen to what the minister's response is. Well, I didn't say that. This is the minister. But what I am saying is that the mission of the resurrection what I am saying is that we must recognize that your work is not more important than the mission of the resurrection of the dead. Our work is not more important to that. The minister is not saying our work, our job is not important. It's secondary to the primary mission, to raise the dead, the resurrection of the dead. All praise belongs to Allah. Okay, so minister, I understand I don't need to give up my job. I don't need to quit my profession. So now I might say, well, but brother minister, I need some money. I gotta get some money. The minister has a response for that question. He says, right, we gotta all have some money, but Allah promised money, good homes, friendship in all walk of life. But he said you must do the first work, and the first work is the resurrection of our people. The mission is getting the message of life to a dead people that they may come up to do that which Allah wants them to do. That's the mission, so says the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The mission, giving life to the dead. We've heard that same mission from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we mentioned that the minister, his mission is an extension or an expansion of the mission of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That sounds like congruency in the mission to me. I don't know about you. I don't see any incongruency in the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mission and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's mission, which is an extension or an expansion. Now, as we move to close, family, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in this same address titled The Man and the Mission, Raising the Dead to Life, the minister asked the question, what did I call you for? I called you, the minister speaking, hoping that you, like me, would have a mission, accept a mission, and grow to accept responsibility of raising a people up from the dead. And that's what the mosque is. The mosque is a place and a process which is excruciatingly painful, but it is to grow us, to mature us, to accept the responsibility of the mission of the raising up of our people. That's the only reason we're here, the minister says. The minister says, you serve Allah's mission and Allah will better your condition. You run from this mission and Allah will straighten the means of subsistence for you. And nothing you do will come out right because you're running from your responsibility. All praise is due to Allah. We read in the scripture that what Allah has for us, no one can withhold it. And what Allah doesn't have for us, there's no one that can grant it. So we might as well stop running, family. I don't know about you, but I don't want my means of subsistence straightened. We need all the help from Almighty God Allah that we can receive. All praise belongs to Allah. There is so much in that message, that address from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It certainly, family, bears us going back, rewatching, and studying the words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as his words contain light, life, power, warning, wisdom, and guidance. So please, family, take the opportunity, go back and rewatch that address from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Winding down, some of us may remember a TV series titled Mission Impossible. Now, I'm not talking about the new school Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise. I'm not talking about that. Talking about the old school Mission Impossible TV series. That ran from about 1966 to 1973. Now, there was a recorded message for those of us that recall that series. There was a recorded message that was played at the introduction or the onset of that TV series. That recorded message started off, your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to, and then the recorded message went on to give you what that mission was if you decided to accept it. Now, for me to make that recorded message relevant, to bring it to present time, this is what I say. Your mission, Sister Linda, and you can insert your name. Your mission, Sister Linda, should you decide to accept it, is to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan with the responsibility of raising up or the resurrection of our people. All praise is due to Allah. You have to personalize that, family. I can't give it to you. No one can give it to you. You have to go to the God and accept your responsibility of helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his mission. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad ain't tell Sister Linda, you go get my people. I didn't get that mission. All I can do and all we can do is help the minister in his mission. So all praise is due to Allah. So, beloved family, If you and I have been a little lax in our responsibility to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his mission, let's get back on our post. Now, if you haven't been lax, then all praise belongs to Allah, family. All praise belongs to Allah. So, may Allah continue to bless and guide us with the light of His understanding. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to come before you this morning, and I leave you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Come on, we can do better than that. I saw you there. You getting fed today. All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. Oh, man. All praises due to Allah. That's a mission. I remember Mission Impossible. If we did that today, people would be real miserable because after the instructions came, the tape destroyed itself. Yeah, but I didn't make the meeting. What they say, the tape destroyed itself. If you wasn't there, you didn't get the message, huh? All praises due to Allah, but we just the tape recorder, voicemail. You know, when you out and somebody trying to get in touch with you and they can't reach you for whatever we're doing, they leave a message on voicemail. And then you can come back to voicemail and find out who was trying to reach you. Most of us don't know God's been trying to reach us. From what we're taught since 1930, as usual, we out to lunch. But if you come here, you'll hear the tape recording. We are echo chamber of that declaration of our independence. Thank you so much, Sister Linda. This was a blessing today. See, I told you, all praise is due to Allah. Yeah, this mission and being thought of before you was even in the womb. That already says there's a purpose. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you had any question, it'd just be, what were you thinking before I was in my mother's womb of what I should be doing in life? Yes, sir. God, it must give you such a feeling of peace and serenity. Well, look, I wanted to mention the Final Call newspaper. Now, you should not go home without it. And I need to mention to you that on the back page of the paper, there's the Muslim program. This was put in 1962 by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he called it, the answers to the most frequently asked questions. So there are 10 points in there. What do you all want? It's already stated there. Well, what do you all believe? And it's 12 points stated there. It takes out any room for confusion or anything. That's right. And then you're able to at least know. Doesn't even say you had to agree, but you at least know. You know what Minister Farrakhan did? In 2015, we were in Washington, D.C. He read this program out. He asked Black America, do you agree with this? Do you want freedom in that? We found out the people wanted everything that's on this paper. So when we take this paper out, we're not even talking about something that people don't agree with and don't understand. They already said they understand it and they agree with it because he read it to them. This is our program, but the people took it. No, this is a program we all need to be implementing because these are principles. They're not religious labels. This is a principle. It's not just, it says Muslim program because a Muslim is somebody who's entered peace because, as Sister Linda said, if you stop running, if you just surrender, you'll find out, man, I ain't never felt this good. But see, you're already hardwired for something. And the worst thing you can do is try to run your mental and emotional and spiritual engines in a program that you weren't hardwired for. And that's what's causing us so much stress in this life. So we haven't finished with our treat for you today. We have another bright star coming up in our class here, and I want you to hear from them. You don't mind hearing from them, right? And this is a young man this is the product of being born in the nation. So his proud parents, Brother Kyle and Sister Kimberly, they were just getting married when I came to the city. And their children were born with us in Mosque number 12. I'm talking about parents that never left. They ain't never disappeared on us. They've always been here, always serving. And that's what their children have seen. You know, our children, I believe, they respond more to what they see us doing than what they hear us saying. And so you can't live a way that's contrary to what you're demanding of your children. While they're in your house, they're studying us. And so this young man has come along, and he's been a great help to the captain in the FOI. But I found out he could be a help to us in this aspect of the work. So I hope you will enjoy him. A bright, shining star. He's just been helpful in just a short time. He's started helping us in the ministry. But I want you to put your hands together for our dear brother Amin Muhammad, okay? Come on, beloved.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God, whose proper name is Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, the great Mahdi to whom all praise is forever due. And we forever thank Allah for intervening in our affairs and for raising up a messenger from among us that he could deposit his very mind into. And that man that we speak of is none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. All praise is due to Allah. But we further thank Allah for sending the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, a helper, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He is our divine reminder, divine warner, and the Messiah that is in our midst today. It is in their three holy and righteous names that I greet all of you this morning with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. How are we this morning, family? Praise be to Allah. Let's give Sister Linda another round of applause. Praise be to Allah. Once again, family, I'd like to thank you all for being on time and coming out to Muhammad's Mosque number 12 to hear the life-giving, life-saving, and life-resurrecting teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught and demonstrated by his chief student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I'd like to begin by thanking the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We can never thank him enough because he is a man that, like his spiritual father and teacher, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, has always and continues to demonstrate unequaled love, is that right? An unparalleled commitment to the resurrection and upliftment of black people, not just in the United States of America, but really all over the planet Earth, is that right? But both of these men, it's important to note this, both of these men were taught and are still being taught by a master, is that right? In Surah 53, the star in the Holy Quran, it says, your companion errs not, nor does he deviate, nor does he speak out of what? Desire. It is naught but revelation that is revealed. One mighty in power has what? Taught him, the Lord of strength. So he attained to perfection, and he is in the highest part of the horizon. Family, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has shared with his teacher the hardest job ever given to any man, and that's the resurrection of the dead. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if there were any symbol he'd choose to represent himself and his work, it would be a trumpet. And that is really what those two men, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, represent, the final call to Islam. All praise is due to Allah. So I can never thank Allah enough for coming to North America by himself, sound like a mission, traveling 9,000 miles from Mecca, we are taught that he came in the flesh and clothes of our enemies. And our enemies, they looked at him, but they really didn't see the man for what he was, because they thought that he was looking at one of their own, when in fact they were really looking at one of us, a man that was born to deliver us from the wicked hands of our oppressors. Is that right? All praise is due to Allah. So once again, family, in their names, I'd like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Before I go any further, I'd like to also thank our Delaware Valley Student Regional Minister, Brother Rodney Muhammad, for his continued work. All praise is due to Allah. For his continued work and service in helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan here in the city of Philadelphia, but really all over our Delaware Valley region. And I thank him for giving me the opportunity to share a few words with you all this morning. It is always an honor and a privilege for those of us in the ministry class to share just some of what we've been learning and studying for ourselves. All praise is due to Allah. So family, like Sister Linda said, the subject we intend to take up today is the mission. I'd like to open our talk in the book of Revelation, the 21st chapter, the King James Version of the Bible. It reads, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new." I'd like to begin by speaking a little about the New World Order that we are most certainly on the cusp of, if we didn't already know that. If we look at Allah's coming in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, in truth, he came at the dawn of a new millennium. Is that right? To lay the base for a new world of peace and a new world of righteousness. And he came not just to sit down the tyrants, although he did come to do that, but he came to change the world into heaven on earth. Is that right? So on the 4th of July, the day of America's independence celebration, he announced the beginning of his mission, which was to restore and resurrect his lost and found people. Is that right? And these people were identified as the original members of the tribe of Shabazz. These lost found people of the original nation were captured, exploited, and dehumanized to serve as slaves in America for over 3 centuries. We following so far? Yes, sir. So his mission was to teach the downtrodden and defenseless black people a thorough knowledge of God and of themselves. But let's take a minute to look at the quality and the types of people that Master Fard Muhammad first dealt with. What was their condition? We are taught that by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that what Master Fard Muhammad found in Black Bottom, Detroit was what's known as the carcass. And this was the remains of a once great African people that Master Fard Muhammad came to save. So these people were in complete darkness, and they were a very ignorant people. So when Master Fard Muhammad's first teaching them, he has to teach them in a language that you would teach babies in. You teach babies in a way that conjure up pictures. The picture isn't necessarily the whole truth, but the truth is contained in the picture. Is that right? As long as the picture remains in the brain, as you continue to mature in your understanding, then all of a sudden you find that you can reach into the picture now and extract the truth that lies therein. Is that right? So Master Fard Muhammad put these people on the road to self-independence with a superior culture, right? And a higher civilization that they had previously experienced. All praise is due to Allah. That is his mission. But listen to this. As he's working his mission, he raises up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a messenger from among us. And then look at this, in a show of extreme humility, a man that met with God doesn't just say, I'm enough to do it. He asked for a helper. So in 1954, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew that he would need a helper of a certain type. There were many helpers at that time, is that right? But the man that he was looking for, we say it in today's world, he needed somebody of a certain breed, right? So he said, we have been so greatly misunderstood that I desire that Allah send to me a little helper. These words, family, if we don't know, bear a striking similarity to the words we hear in the Holy Quran where we read of Moses' prayer to Allah for a helper. Is that right? We making the connection today. All praise is due to Allah. In this prayer, he says, and my brother Aaron, he is more, what? Eloquent in speech than I. So send him with me as a helper to what? Confirm me. Surely I fear that they would reject me. He said, we will strengthen thine arm with thy brother, and we will give you both an authority, so that they shall not reach you. And with our signs, you too and those who follow you shall triumph. But right after, this is the important part, right after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1954 asks Allah for a helper, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan joins the Nation of Islam 1 year after. All praise is due to Allah. But as Sister Linda was discussing, what is the relationship between the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's mission and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's mission? Raising the same words Sister Linda said, our brother Minister Jabril Muhammad, may Allah be pleased, said both of their missions are mutually compatible and complementary. So if we look back to Moses was on a mission. But his mission was one in the West and then eventually the East. Is that right? So at some point, Moses' breast has to be expanded. Is that right? So if we look at the first people that he had to deal with, these were a savage people in the hills and cave side of Europe, as we're taught. Is that right? But later, according to the scriptures, we deal with another type of sickness in Egypt that Sister Linda was talking about. So he has two assignments, one west and one east. Are we following? Now let's compare it to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If we compare it, he too has an expanded assignment. It said that he has an assignment in America. He has an assignment in the Caribbean. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that if we really understand, his assignment covers the whole of the children of both the first and second Adam. So his breast has to be expanded to fit that requirement. But expanding your breast, this is something that you just can't poof pow make it happen. It takes time to do it. It takes time for you to understand the depth of the assignment or mission that you're sent here to accomplish. Is that right? It took the Honorable Elijah Muhammad some time. Is that right? He said that he really hadn't come into the full understanding of his mission until he was about to leave. Is that right? But look at this. We often miss this part. Sister Linda brought it up. The helper is not supposed to look like the person that they're helping. I want to get into this a little bit. I'll share with you all a story. Most of us probably know, if we into cooking or we watch any cooking shows at all, that a head chef and a sous chef are not the same, right? One is clearly assisting the other. And I'll tell you, on occasion, if I see my wife preparing a meal, being nosy, I'll go in the kitchen and I'll say, I'll be your sous chef for the day. And before we go any further, she makes it very clear who the sous chef is and who the head chef is. And she makes it clear that they're not the same. Sometimes I try and add in a little bit of something that I saw somewhere and it never tastes good. So sometimes she got to get me right back on track and say, look, head chef, sous chef, all praises due to Allah. But all praises due to Allah. But in this context, family, in this context that we're talking about, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in this context, the helper helps in the expanded version of the mission of the master who preceded him, as Sister Linda said, and laid the foundation for him. According to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he was actually corrected one time by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for reciting the history of Jesus as he taught it 40 years earlier. Listen to this. He said, I don't want you to teach it like I said 40 years ago. He said, I want you to give the meaning of the history. See, this is why when the messenger leaves with a fully developed understanding and depth of his mission, he's able to guide the servant who works in the expanded aspects of the mission. This is why, going back to our first point, their missions are mutually compatible and complementary. But if we don't understand it yet, let's look in the scripture, the Bible. In the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 5 through 6, this is the King James Version. Jesus talking to his disciples. He says, these 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not in the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now let's go to Mark chapter 16, verse 15. This is the King James Version as well. He said, and he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Wait a minute. In both these scriptures sound like Jesus is singing a different tune in the second one than the first. So these scriptures illustrate how Jesus' focus starts off narrow, but then as time goes on, it expands. Are we following? Yes, sir. But let's think for a second. Anytime we're going over the Holy Quran or the scriptures of the Bible, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words, it's very important that we take our time. Because as you go over it, if you just speed through it, you're missing things. So let's look at these disciples. As for those disciples who preach the gospel only to the lost sheep, how would they be prepared to then go out and preach the gospel to the ends of the earth, except their breasts be expanded and except their understanding of the mission be expanded? Is that right? Let's fast forward to 2024. If that's true, how would we be able to stand today against the onslaught of our open enemy in 2024? If the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan hadn't expanded the breasts of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and been his extension, we say that he is what? The last man standing. But this isn't no catchphrase that those of us in the Nation of Islam just like to say. This is real. We say that he's the last man standing because no man has withstood the onslaught of the enemy like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has. All praise is due to Allah. And he never responds, if we notice, believers, he never responds to his detractors with the same level of venom or vitriol that they give him. Is that right? There's a lesson in that for us. And according to him, he's never been a man that's really been censored for his good works. If the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan goes out and feeds 2,000 people, they're not necessarily going to come at him for that. But no, he's been repudiated and censored because he dares to speak the truth among those who hate the truth. Putting it quite simply. So we thank Allah, and we can never thank Allah enough for having a man in our midst that has dedicated his life completely to the truth and to the service of suffering black people all over the world. Is that right? All praises due to Allah. So we've taken time to discuss the mission of Master Fard Muhammad, the mission of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But it begs the question now, what's our role in this? We're here, we're believers, we gotta have some part in the play, right? as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our mission is the resurrection of the dead. But this will be a hard mission to accomplish if you're not willing to sacrifice anything. If we look at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, just think how much ripping and running these two men were doing all over the country, how much time spent away from family. Can you imagine that? And really, we're never going to be as busy as them, so more than likely our sacrifice right now at this stage isn't as great as that. So the question we all have to ask ourselves is, what are we willing to sacrifice and, quite frankly, put up with for this mission? Everyone in this room, everyone knows how difficult it can be to help our people on any level. We know that. But we're taught that we have to love our people more than they hate themselves. And we're taught that we are the people of God. But if you believe wholeheartedly that we're the people of God, then you have to treat people like they're more than what they show. Because what they show is just a manifestation of their ignorance. I'll give you an example. The FOI were out soldiering. And sometimes when we go out soldiering, we're selling the Final Call newspaper, somebody doesn't want it. Now, if a brother, you have a Final Call in front of him, and he pushes it out of your hand, do you just throw in the towel and say, see, I'm tired. This mission don't work. We're not doing nothing. Is that what happens? If that's happening with some of us, we really need to quit that. Because it's showing that we can't withstand any type of onslaught. That's our people. Don't tell me you'll fight the devil, but you won't fight to save your own people. Don't tell me you believe in Master Fard Muhammad, who traveled 9,000 miles, and we can't travel to North, West, South Philly to go and save our people. Is that right? Well, we were in the Johnson Home projects one time, just showing you how it's just a manifestation of their ignorance. They're not necessarily trying to disrespect you. Some of us came up to 3 brothers at the time where we were more familiar with one of them than the other 2. As we're talking to 2 of the brothers, this is when Brother Ilya Rashad brought his movie to Philadelphia and we were getting people to come out. One of the brothers stayed in the vehicle. And after we were talking to him for a short amount of time, he all of a sudden gets out of the vehicle and he says, you know, I'm not going to lie. He said, when you all first came over here, I really didn't want to hear what you had to say. But then he admitted to us that really he was just getting in his own way and he really didn't understand what we were there to do. So being in this mission really means that you have to have a certain level of patience with our people, but also with yourself. If you treat them with an evil attitude when you go out, you're only demonstrating that you've never really been raised from a dead level. In the book of Proverbs, it says, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us that, a proud man and a proud woman cannot hear the commands of God. They only hear that which feeds the sick mentality that has produced their false pride. He said that when human beings begin to think they are better than others, because of their color, or because of their privilege, or because of their birth, or because of their money, or because of their education, or because, he said, of some unique characteristic that they did not give themselves, then you have what's known as the making of a devil. Praise be to Allah. So we can be devils. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad tried to put it to us in a nice way. He didn't call us devils. He just said, oh, you're other than yourself. All right? But if there's only 2 worlds, God's and Satan's world, and you're acting other than yourself, that means you're not in God's world. Whose world are you in? Satan's. So this mission that we're on It requires one to have true love in their heart. In fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said one way that Islam dignifies us is that it makes us to know, listen, and love one another as never before. So if we're not experiencing that yet, and we've been in the Nation of Islam for some point in time, we're doing something wrong. I remember during one Friday night study group, we had a beautiful study group, and at the end of the night, we were discussing if we had encountered any opposition as one who believes with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and supports him in our mission. And as we were discussing the topic, we started talking about how this is really what study group is all about. Building the brotherhood, building the sisterhood, and self-improvement. See, when you learn about each other, you also stop to judge each other as much. You judge what you don't know. Many times you may think, oh, this brother might have an attitude or this sister might have an attitude, but really you don't know that they're going through the same thing at home that you're going through. In Islam, we're taught that you should want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself. Is that right? However, at times, if we're not careful, we can fall victim to or are guilty of the very thing that we profess, really. In the Holy Quran, chapter 9, verse 71, it reads, "And the believers, men and women, are friends of one another. They enjoin good and forbid evil, and keep up prayer and pay the poor rate, and obey Allah and His messenger. As for these, Allah will have mercy on them. Surely Allah is mighty wise." All praise is due to Allah. So family, as we move to close, I want us to just think about this. Being in this mission requires ourselves to hold each other and ourselves to a certain standard, right? And it requires accountability. But when there's no longer a standard, or when a standard is erased, we no longer really know how to measure our own fall away from what is right. You can't really say a person's not doing something if they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Is that right? That standard has to be reestablished, and the moral backbone has to be reestablished. So Islam makes us to know and love one another as never before. And I have to say, family, when you understand your mission, and when you do what Sister Linda said, and you stop running away, and you start to just look at yourself in the mirror, don't start with anybody else. We're taught that self-improvement is the basis for community development. So what we have right now is a community, right? But the community cannot move forward if every individual person is only looking at themselves. If we go out in Philadelphia, many times we'll see a lot of the killing that's going on with our young brothers and sisters out here. But really, they're not totally to blame for everything that they're doing. If you look at a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, they're shooting people out here. They don't live on their own. So they're going back to a house with a person that raised them. So before we just start to look at the youth and say, oh, they should be doing this and they shouldn't be doing this, let's look at ourselves to make sure that we're providing the child with the environment that will give them success. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. So family, as I close, we just have to remember standard. In this mission, we have to have a standard. And if the standard's not there, don't point to somebody else to be the standard. You be the standard. We're taught to do for self. Do for self don't just mean make a business. It means when you're going out and trying to get a mission, don't just complain about what everybody else is not doing and you not doing nothing. You go out and do it yourself. So family, I thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I pray that this helps us to orient our minds around the mission. So let us continue to put on the whole armor of God as we continue to walk this uphill road. May Allah continue to bless us all with the light of understanding as I leave you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Please help me to receive our Delaware Valley Student Regional Minister, Brother Rodney Muhammad.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Come on, put your hands together. That's Brother Amin Muhammad. So scholarly and, school trained, but nevertheless, everything we get out of this civilization, we're using it to dig our way out into a new world. I thank Almighty God for you, beloved. Just a great help. The population of Philadelphia, according to the recent study, more than 1/3 of the population now are the millennials. So many of the GI generation, and particularly the baby boomers and Generation X, people are moving outside of the city limits. So younger people are moving in. And those that are staying, they are caught up in a different kind of culture than many of the black people that came to Philadelphia to begin to populate places like North Philadelphia and that, because whites began in the 50s, the white flight was to this suburb. And I think it was Standard Oil, General Motors, and Firestone Tires. They conspired for this suburban life all over the country, because you couldn't live a suburban life without a vehicle. You can't drive a vehicle without a tire, and the tire or the vehicle can't move without gas. So they conspired back in the 50s, and even Dr. King had to fight against how the city resources were being rerouted to these suburban areas to fix them up very well. Now they've had 2 to 3 generations of children who are bored. They don't want to live out there. They want to come back into the city life. And so gentrification has begun. There's nowhere else to go. Some of us may remember driving back down south, because most of us was from down south. Let's get real. And you used to drive right out of the city and all you saw was the country. But now you just see never-ending cities, don't you? When you're driving, you keep looking over, and there's developments everywhere. They don't have nowhere else to go. So what they did, they disinvested in these communities in the inner city, and then we didn't have no money to fix the plumbing and the roofs and everything, so the properties have gone down. Plus the color of our skin took the property values down. Now they not only can come back, but you think you can get a high price, but they're saying, look, the bank won't give me that much money to buy your property. So they're getting these properties at a steal, and then now they're moving us out to the suburban areas. When I was president of the NAACP, every single week in the mail, there were developments in the suburbs that were trying to get us to go and convince black people, you need to move out here. It's only $850 a month, and it's clean. You got a lawn and a yard. And if you've been living in urban decay, violence, seeing grandmothers bury their grandbabies and everything, and you just tired, you take that little piece of money and try to run to the suburbs, I can guarantee you it ain't gonna last. No kind, by the time you bat an eye, it's gone. So they have been moving us out there because it has become too emotionally distressing to just try to stay in the hood. So while we're crying about gentrification, you wouldn't have any if black folks didn't sell. But we gotta sell, because you can't fix up anymore. You can't get the money. You can barely stay in there. We had Tracy Gordon here, who was over Register of Wills. We found out 14,000 of our families are living in what's called an entangled title, right? And that office been there for ages, and they never said nothing to us about that office till that sister got in. And when she got in, she exposed what was going on. And then Tangle title is, you've been living in your mother's house and she died. And you thought because you was her son and you was living there, the house automatically went to you. And that's not the case. So you can't even call the shots over that house. The property tax is not in your name and everything. So there's certain things that you can't do, and they can come in and begin to arrest these properties, especially if it's behind on different things. So I don't want to get into all that discussion, but I'm saying that to say that the city is filled now with millennials. And two things are happening. Many of them are renting, so they're building these swank apartments and stuff for them to live in, black and white. And the young brothers who remember drinking wine on the corner and smoking a herb or something and singing, it's called Street Corner Symphony. Somebody called and said you were disturbing the peace because you're out here drinking, you're out there singing. Anybody remember that? And then now the white folks are there. They can't stand on the corner and do that. That'd be a clear contradiction. So they drink all night and make noise, but they call it a beer party, a garden party. Oh, we're just having a garden party here and there. It's the same thing. You're out in the street and you're drinking and you're loud. Huh? But see, they done got us with language. And so when he says the word ignorance, don't take when he says our ignorance like ignut, somebody just acting ignorant. No, we're talking about not knowing. And we don't know how crafty these folks are. When I moved to Philadelphia, there was no such thing as brewery town. When I moved here, all this was North Philly. They took up a few blocks, don't take but about 5 blocks, they renamed the area. Right? And then they can get funding for it and everything. So it's spruced up while the rest of North Philly keeps declining till the developers can get in. So we have millennials, and they said this is the first time in Philadelphia's history in 50 years that they have less than 10,000 children that are 1 year old and under. So they're coming in with a whole new culture, not having children. So now 41% of the young black women don't want children. And see, this is Pharaoh's plan. Y'all don't mind me talking about Pharaoh just for a minute. I'm so full of the two people address. All the points, I'm drinking them in. So I can't get distracted. I just wanted to read something from the 78th surah of the Holy Quran called The Announcement. Just a couple of passages here. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Of what do they ask one another? Of the tremendous announcement about which they differ. Nay, they will soon know. Nay, again, they will soon know. We had an announcement, 2 of them. One, the anniversary comes on Tuesday. Isn't it? Today's the 15th, right? Yes. So on the 17th, Tuesday, it would be the anniversary of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's More Than a Vision experience. September the 17th, it was 1985. And 2 days after this experience, it didn't come back to him until an earthquake took place 2 days later, and forcibly this experience came back to his mind. I'm going to show you how this has everything to do with Black America. But it would be 1989 that he would actually follow the instructions that came out of this experience. And so I want to take some of his words from the J.W. Marriott Hotel in Washington, D.C., and that was in October of 1989, which some of us may have been there with him. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, brothers and sisters, we are honored by your presence here this morning." He said, "I am a man who has great respect for the press, the electronic media, and I also have respect for myself and my mission. As you know, I do not readily submit to interviews, nor am I frequently seen on television, for I am not before you of myself, nor do I do what I do to be seen of men. Therefore, I have never tried to abuse or misuse the press to seek advantage for myself or the Nation of Islam. So in calling this press conference, I am calling you because of the serious nature of the announcement that I am about to make, an announcement on which hangs the future of this nation, its leaders, and the people of America. It is written in the book of Ezekiel, when I say unto the wicked, you shall surely die, and you give him not warning, nor speak to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but I will require his blood at your hands. One aspect about the mission is that there is a terrible consequence when we fail to engage the mission. Jesus said, to whom much is given, much is required. I've lived long enough to see a lot of people want to be given a whole lot from this teaching. But when the requirement comes down, there's a lot of pushback. So the blood that we see on the news, while we shake our head and say, man, we just don't get it, we have to understand the blood is on our hands. It didn't say you had to succeed. Go ahead. The Quran talks about the uphill road. The charge wasn't that you went up there and failed. The charge was you didn't even attempt it. He attempts not the uphill road. And I think all of them testified that there's test and trial in the mission. Nothing worthwhile in life comes without difficulty. Most people live a life that some may call failure, not because they're incapable. It's because they were unwilling to pay a price. We pay one anyway. So the minister goes on in the book of Ezekiel. He said, but yet if you warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you will have delivered your soul. That is where I start and why I kept doing what I'm doing. I want a delivered soul. Now, everybody can't see blood. When I was my last year in high school, I had a very dramatic literature teacher. And so, I learned all about Shakespeare's plays, but Macbeth was one of them, about a man and his wife wanted to kill this man that would be king. And when it got time to come out to do this deed, they're going to stab him, right? Macbeth sees the dagger in the air. And he's troubled in his mind, the way Shakespeare writes it, because he's seeing the dagger before him. But when he tried to grab it, he said, I went to clutch thee, but I have thee not. Now I realize you are a dagger that lives in the mind. He said, and it's the bloody business that awaits me. When they do the deed, the wife can't stop washing her hands because she keeps seeing the blood. So Shakespeare's trying to show this neurotic, compulsive behavior of trying to get the blood off. And see, Pilate wanted the blood off his hands before they killed Jesus, right? So when you do the mission, part of this is the deliverance of our own soul from the consequences that are coming on the man and the woman. It read like this from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What is the duty of a civilized man and woman? You know, and what do you do with somebody? What's their punishment if they forsake that duty? And I heard Sister Linda say something, nothing is going right. And the words of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan came up in my head. He said, you're suffering because you're not working. So the minister has to go on now. This is a press conference. He said, in a tiny town in Mexico called Tepoztlan, there is a mountain at the top of which is the ruins of a temple dedicated to Quetzalcoatl. That's the Christ figure of Central and South America. The mountain, which I have climbed several times, however, on the night of September the 17th, 1985, I was carried up on that mountain in a vision with a few friends of mine. And as we reached the top of the mountain, a wheel of what you call an unidentified flying object. These vessels have been in and out of history all of the time of the modern history of this country. Jimmy Carter saw it. The governor of Arizona saw it. Ronald Reagan, while president, had meetings in the White House with leading clergy and astrologers and others because he feared he would be the president left fighting the war of Armageddon. Nancy Reagan, his wife, would help bring these people in to counsel him on what to do about these more divine and secret type matters. Remember when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was being interviewed after the Million Man March by Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts. They were the leading ones on ABC. They said, what was all this business about the height of the Washington Monument? Why talk about the memorials and their height and this? And the minister said, that's to let the wise people in this country know that I know their secrets. Why? Because Washington, D.C. was constructed out of Masonic ritual. So the Masons' ritual is tied up in much of the architecture and design of the city itself. Now here's the minister saying this wheel. According to the Pentagon, they no longer use the term unidentified flying object. They now have named it the mothership. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had been teaching this for years, but the Pentagon got a teaching And they said it's the mothership. If it's a mother, it's got some children. Huh? So they're acknowledging that there's several vessels out here that are not under their control. Why are they concerned with these? Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teacher, the man that rose him up out in the black bottoms of Detroit, has neutralized some of their military installations. They know they're neutralized. They got some missiles right now that we paid for that they can't fire. This is not a God that's taking a break from the mission that Brother Amin talked about. People think he came in 1930 and he's somewhere chilling. Huh? Why you talk like that, man? Because I know you all. I know how we think. You understand? I'm telling you, he's busy. And he's deciding what's going to be fired and what's not going to be fired. You know, you could have a bigger gun than me, but if you can't get it off. Nevertheless, he said, it appeared at the side of the mountain and called me to come up into the wheel, and 3 metal legs appeared from the wheel, giving me the impression that it was going to land, but it never came over the mountain. See, Ezekiel talks about the wheel. And in the book of Ezekiel, he calls out for the wheel, but Ezekiel was a prophet, 595 BC. So there was no wheel in the sky then. This was built much later. But he was a prophet, and he was made to see something in a time that he would not be in. And even though he saw it and saw a man working, he had to accept, I'm not the man for that job. Just because you can see the job that needs to be done don't mean you the man that's going to do it. Huh? So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is saying to the press, because I don't want to read the whole thing, I respect the press, even though they lie. But I respect the press, and I have too much respect for it, for myself, for my mission, to come up here and make a fool of myself. I've made sense up to this point representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the expansion of his mission. So why would I come up and put something out there that would make me look totally bizarre? So as he goes up on it, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaks to him. So I'm going to go right there. He said, I won't bother you with the description of the room in the ship, but suffice it to say that at the center of the ceiling was a speaker, and through this speaker, I heard the voice of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, speaking to me as clearly as you are hearing my voice this morning. He spoke in short, cryptic sentences, and as he spoke, a scroll full of cursive writing rolled down in front of my eyes, but it rolled down in front of my eyes, but it was a projection of what was being written on my mind. As I attempted to read the cursive writing, which was in English, the scroll disappeared and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad began to speak to me. I want to stop right there because in the Holy Quran, you'll see that all of us, when we retire at night, it says Allah takes the souls. And if you got more days on earth, and since we are on God's time, we just don't realize it. We call it ours. But we're on God's time. if God sends you back, the question is, what are you doing with God's time? Why did he keep me here? And the minister said, it's not impossible that when he takes the soul, that he can write something on it before he sends it back to you. You ever went to sleep not knowing something that you knew when you woke up? I'm talking about what you know gives you energy from a God that you might have thought had walked out on you. And you can recover because of what he has given you, and you find yourself easy to increase in something in the knowledge of God because he only lets you in there by his permission. Some people think, oh, God just favors this one over that one, that's why he knows more. No, he don't bring nobody to him without trial. And everybody, you got somebody that's deep in the knowledge of God because they've been deep in suffering. Huh? You want to be increased in knowledge. He can't increase us in knowledge without purifying our heart before we get there. He already got a devil that knows too much, and his heart ain't right. So why furnish somebody else with greater knowledge and greater wisdom, and he ain't purifying your heart as he brings you closer to himself? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, President Reagan has met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war. I want you to hold a press conference in Washington, D.C. and announce their plan and say to the world that you got it, the information from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel. First of all, you have people don't believe in the wheel. Second of all, you have people that insist the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not alive. So you couldn't have heard him. You must have heard something. Now, those, we don't have time to go into that, but you should remember they went and exhumed the body. Didn't nobody tell them to do that? And they had it up there at our temple in Chicago, didn't they? Yes, they did. And they put soldiers up there by it, and the rationale was some follower may go dig him up. So we just dug him up and put him here and put some soldiers there. You know, that's the same thing they did with Jesus. Put some centurions up there to guard him. Okay. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said to him, they have planned this, and he told him to go hold a press conference. This happened in 1985. The press conference is not till when? 1989. And it's really in October of 1989. So I can remember sitting with him and Sister Claudette. And he told his chief of protocol, Sister, I want you to book me for every city in this country. And the Stop the Killing tour started. And we went to every city, including this one, all over to warn. Why? Because Reagan and them were planning a war in the basement, and the war was against a Muslim leader and a Muslim nation. And we saw it clearly, and he saw it as Colonel Gaddafi and the nation of Libya. So the minister went to warn Gaddafi. Now some of y'all were in the nation then, huh? He went to warn them, and Ronald Reagan had put out a decree that nobody could go to Libya. He didn't sneak into Libya. They didn't smuggle him in. He got a passport stamp and he went to Libya. I'm going to show you what a free man looks like. And he went to Libya, And he warned them in Libya, and Reagan was notified. And as chief executive officer, president of these United States of America, commander and chief of the armed forces, Ronald Reagan put out an order, all points bulletin, to get Farrakhan when he comes back in the country. Not far from here, he landed right up there in New York. Again, he wasn't smuggled in. He came right in with his passport, put it down, and the man stamped it, and by the time they knew Farrakhan was back in America, he was right on Woodlawn at the palace, our headquarters. Huh? Yeah. So I wanted to say a couple of things on this, because once he dealt with Libya, he found out this scroll is opening up. But remember, the scroll disappeared because it's in him. And it's been unfolding. And as he kept looking at what he was told, that they're planning against a leader of a Muslim nation and that nation, he saw it wasn't just Colonel Gaddafi in Libya. He even saw that the world of Islam was in trouble. They're going to wage war against Islam. But you got to remember, we also are the nation of Islam. And he saw them wanting to get him and us and black people in general. But they also wanted to get us in a way that we would almost invite them in. I've seen people say, well, we got to plan to keep the vampire from coming back tonight. And somebody sees him over there and he's tapping on the window. He just needs an invitation. Without an invitation, he's disempowered from coming in. So if they want to really annihilate us, is what the minister saw in the vision. They need an invitation. They need us on board with their desire to murder us outright. Look how many of our neighborhoods now we're willing to call in the National Guard. And the minister knew they were flooding the community with drugs and they was flooding it with guns. Imagine they're banning books but not guns. They just had a terrible shooting. The students are defenseless. They're in primary grades. They're defenseless. They can't fight a gunman. You would think everybody would be up in arms and say, get these assault weapons off the street. Don't allow them to be sold. They should be sold to militias or something, somebody fighting a war. And if you look at Project 2025 for the young brothers on the street that ain't reading nothing, in there they want the draft to come back. See, last night I was looking at the Vietnam era, and the reason there was so much protest is because it was a draft. And people were being drafted into a war. First of all, we didn't know enough about it. Dr. King was against it. John F. Kennedy was against it, and they were both dead. Bobby Kennedy was running for president, and one of the first things he was going to do was end that war. He got dead before he even got to the White House. All of them killed in the 1960s. All of them murdered. But they were all, the one thing consistent about it, they were all against the Vietnam War, and the public was out against it because it was a draft. So see, you're walking around now, you can shoot up and down Germantown and go down to South Philly and West Philly and shoot up. But if they get that 2025 thing over, they're going to give you somebody to shoot at. They're going to snatch you right up off the street. And you know what? Because of the pain that the community has suffered, some people are going to be glad to see you go. You can't scream betrayal You betrayed your people when you started murdering them. So the minister went on a trip almost out of a passionate desperation to reach us. Not just the children, but we as the stewards of the children, the parents. Because many of these children that are shooting up right now, you can see they don't own their own apartment or home. So somebody's letting them lay up. Okay. So very quickly, this is what the vision on September the 17th actually led to. I just wanted that. But look at this here. In the book of Exodus, Pharaoh was concerned, and he said they're increasing in number. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, because we are increasing in numbers, we have, with our numbers of black people, the fast-growing population of Latinos and Native Americans, we have the power, he said, to redirect domestic policy. Then he said, because of our numbers, we have the power, if we're properly taught, mobilized and politicized, we have the power to be the cornerstone of foreign policy. So we not only could direct government decisions inside of America, but we can redirect their decisions on how they treat people outside of America. So now you see a man willing to run for office, and he's saying that our brothers and sisters from Haiti are taking people's pets and eating them. I just want you would think this would have been dismissed by now, but that man came to Pennsylvania and doubled down on it. And he has said, we're going to start the deportation there. See, a lot of people don't know that President Eisenhower had a mass deportation in this country. So this is before John Kennedy got in office, and they raided people's homes and kicked them out of the country. And they didn't have DACA then. So you could be a child born here from those that came from abroad, but they put you out also. That was under Dwight D. Eisenhower. Donald Trump and them, they're looking at that plan right now. But we're not looking at that plan. We're looking at Allah's plan. And the planner got an instrument. And that instrument is Louis Farrakhan. He reminded us that as he went and he was talking to us and stopped the killing, he saw that the dangers among particularly young black men was increasing, so he just wanted a man's audience. You remember how much controversy that was? They were going to crash his meetings. I remember sitting up with somebody from the LGBT community. They were over the Human Relations Commission, trying to tell me that the minister could not have just a men's meeting in Philadelphia. Now here you have Catholic priests can meet in a big convention, no women in there, and there's no protest. Come on now. Here you can have rabbis meet, no women in there, no protest. The Boy Scouts of America can meet. Men and boys are in there, no women or girls in there, no protest. But Farrakhan just wants to talk to black men. Something he's been doing since he stood back up to rebuild the work, because we've had FOI class on our Monday nights. So we have been hearing from him, but it was time that they heard from him all over the streets of America. So he wanted to speak to them, but they tried to do everything to stop that. And he said from his own mouth, I want 1 million of you to meet me in Washington, D.C. And once he said that, he had to go to work on what he said. God made the call. Farrakhan was the instrument. I've seen some beautiful instruments, But no instrument can tune itself up. Every instrument needs a musician to tune it up. Farrakhan was an instrument because he was willing to let God use him and tune him up. And when he made the call, the response to the call proved to him that it was God's call, because there's no way that many black men would have come on their own without a God calling on his children and his soldiers. We didn't go to Washington with a plan to beg white people for nothing. We went to Washington to put ourselves at the threshold of the Almighty, to say we have failed in our mission as black men. We're ready to take up our assignment. We're ready to put on the role that God has given man, that we got to stand not only in man's place, but God's place, and rule the land and heal it. So our scripture was 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, then will I forgive their sin, and then I will heal the land. Thank you for listening as we greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Let's give a hand to Sister Linda Muhammad. Let's give a hand to Brother Amin Muhammad for the wonderful presentations we had today. We thank all of you for being out. Is there anyone out for their first time, never been out with us before? All right, we got a hand over there. We got a hand over there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being out with us. We are always happy to have our people. We're all over the country meeting right now. And this part of our meeting, you know, if you've been out with us for your first time in that and you never heard this message before, or you've heard it and never been to our mosque before, not only are we deeply appreciative of your presence, but we want to ask a question. Do you feel it's good for us as black people? Do you think, can I just see by a show of hands, do you think? Thank you all very much. We can only ask that you listen to what we've been blessed to see into and extract from the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the most important question we could ask out of the invitation extended by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how many of you who feel that this is good for us? I want to learn more about it. I want to study more about it. There's no compulsion in religion. Nobody can make us. You really can't ever join this because you already created this. We're trying to wake up and just accept what God had already created. You heard Sister Linda, before we were formed in the womb, he was already thinking about us. So he already had something in mind before we got here. We probably still trying to figure it out. But the closer we come to him, the more and more I believe you're going to get to see it. And the more and more, as the minister said, every last one of us has been given a gift in our creation. So I believe that. And so if you would like to become a part, this is a good time to do it. And come on and learn something about it. If it's not a fit for you, I understand people go where they think they have a fit, but I can tell you it's going to get tight in this world in a few days. But there's nothing more powerful than knowing the truth about yourself. There's nothing more powerful than knowing where you come from and that. Then wherever you go, you can take that with you. And you know that, and that'll be with you, and no one could ever pull anything over on you again. The reason some of us stay for the mission, part of it is we being taught by a man in a way we ain't never gonna need another teacher. Next time you see me on the other side, I'll be teaching. Huh? Hey, I'm just a student now learning like he learned. And he's still learning. So I thank Almighty God for him. If there's any of you, you can come forward. If you'd like to see somebody from the Secretary of Department later, we're always open for you to be there. Don't forget about our meetings on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. You're welcome to be out with us. We have a study group on Fridays. So what we want to do now is move to our public offering. Now, the Secretary, we have everything. So Brother Amin's going to close us out with prayer, and he's going to just run these announcements down real quick. Thank you all again.
Assalamu alaikum. All praises due to Allah. So, family, we have a few announcements before we close out. The first one, support EKLC. That's Education is the Key Learning Center. We cannot impress upon you how important independent education is. Whenever we go to these different cities and go to the school systems, we see that our children are not being taught at the level they need to be successful in this world. So if you have a young one, a nephew, niece, grandchild, child, let's talk to Sister Kimberly and Sister Yvonne about enrolling them for the 2024-2025 school year. We can check our email for supporting Education is the Key Learning Center. Also, save the date. As Brother Rodney mentioned, September 17th, the anniversary of the More Than a Vision-like Experience, a commemoration event. That day, we'll tune into NOI.org, and our headquarters will have a presentation of the More Than a Vision-like Experience on Wednesday, September 25th. We're emphasizing our attendance on Wednesday night. It'll be held here at Muhammad's Mosque number 12. We want to bring a guest out. That's our big community meeting on September 25th. Also, October 19th, make sure you check your email, the National Black Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. You'll be able to tune into that. But there's more information on the flyer, so if you're not getting the emails, make sure you check downstairs with Brother Sabir at the Secretary Department to see about that. Also, today we have hoagies on sale, and we also have, this is first come, first serve, dinner items, baked chicken, fried whiting, chicken, and several sides. Drinks and desserts are also for sale. Lastly, but not least, our meeting announcements. Tomorrow, we have a all men's class, FOI class, at 6 p.m. for the registered brothers. But, brothers, if you didn't come out today or you didn't feel today was enough, there's a class that you can be a part of tomorrow where you can learn more about being in this classroom. That'll start at 7:30 for you all. On Wednesday, we have our community meeting here. Starts at 7 o'clock, goes from 7 to 7:30. Friday, we have Juma prayer at 1 o'clock. We know that a family that prays together stays together. Also, Friday night, we talked about it, the importance of self-improvement study guide course. We have that at 7:30, family. I cannot tell you how many times believers have expressed how study group is almost like a therapy session for them. You go your long week from Monday through Friday, you need to sit down with the believers and talk about the experiences that you're going through. Saturday morning, sisters, if you want to learn more about yourselves, there's no greater class that you can be in than the Mighty MGT class. So if you want to learn more about yourself, you can come in Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for that. And Sunday, we know that we're right back here for our Sunday meeting. I think I've covered all the announcements, so at this time, we can stand for prayer. In a manner in which you're comfortable, follow along silently. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone do we beseech for aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed Thy favors, not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath has been brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard Thy teaching. Ameen. The meeting is dismissed, family. Always remember to go in peace. We are never the aggressor, but if aggressed upon, we fight with those who fight with us. Assalamu alaikum.